Hi there, welcome to the Provocative Hypnosis vlog. This is Jürgen Rasmussen speaking. Today's episode is 3 psychological tips to quiet your mind. Many people have very busy minds, a lot of rumination, a lot of repetitive, self-referential thinking that's bombarding them and tormenting them. There are some simple things, some simple psychological things you can do to quiet your mind. And in this episode, I'm going to cover 3 specific, simple tips, things that you can do. They are challenge your masturbatory demands. That's 1. Number 2 is learn to describe your experience. And number 3 is don't add a self to the experience. So the first one, challenge your masturbations. Most of the time, when we're ruminating and we have a lot of excessive thinking, a lot of what ifs, a lot of catastrophic thinking, it's directly related to us demanding something of ourselves, of another human being, or of life or the universe in general. So if you demand some guarantee of a particular outcome, or you demand some guarantee that someone's going to like you or not reject you, or if you demand some guarantee that the world has to be a particular way, or that you have to be healthy, or that your kids never have to, begin doing drugs or whatever it might be, if you demand that and you're simultaneously sane enough to know that you don't have that guarantee, you're always going to get anxious and stressed and have a lot of thinking every time that thought appears. Now, you're only going to be anxious as long as you actually buy into or believe in the masturbatory demand, right? So a very nice way to kind of pull the plug or pull the rug out of all that thinking is to expose the masturbatory demand for what it is, namely a thought. So whenever you feel the tension in your body or you become aware of the rumination in your mind, just stop and ask yourself, what am I demanding right now? What guarantee am I demanding of myself or another person or the universe? And as soon as you know what that guarantee is, just question it. Like, is it really true that I need that guarantee? Is it really true that the outcome must be in that particular way? So let me give an example of this. I worked with a father recently. Let's just call him Thomas, and let's call his 7-year-old daughter Sophie. Not their real names, but there you go. Thomas had anger issues and a lot of anger and a lot of rumination and around his 7-year-old daughter, Sophie. And it usually revolved around boundaries and, Sophie not listening and Sophie not understanding that she needed to go to sleep. So Thomas allowed his daughter to watch TV until 8:30 at night, and then she was supposed to go to bed. But of course, being 7, she would object and try all sorts of stuff to kind of negotiate this. And the end result would very often be a very angry Thomas, a crying Sophie, and an ashamed Thomas after the fact. So I asked Thomas, I said, Thomas, what are you demanding of Sophie? Because to get really angry, you have to demand something. And he said, well, she has to listen. She has to listen to me. And she has to understand that she has to go to bed. I looked at Thomas and I said, Thomas, that's a very interesting theory. Sophie must listen to you. Must she? And he shot back and he said, of course she must. She needs to go to school and she needs her sleep. And I said to him, look, I'm not for a single second disputing the notion that you are the father and that it's your responsibility to raise your daughter and to make sure that she gets the essentials. Let's leave logistics to one side and put psychology, the world of experience, into the driver's seat. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't have rules for her or to set boundaries or to say no. You can still turn off the TV. You can even carry her upstairs. The question is, what state of mind will you be in as you do it? Now, psychologically, whose business is it what you hear and what you understand? And he said, mine. I said, that's right, yours. Whose business is it psychologically? What Sophie hears and what Sophie understands. And he had to kind of reluctantly admit that it had to be Sophie. So I said to him, look, the reality is Sophie hears whatever she hears. She understands whatever she understands. If you psychologically go into her world and you demand that she hears stuff that she doesn't hear, and you demand that she understands stuff or care about stuff that she doesn't understand or doesn't care about, and she then doesn't comply with the whims of the dictator, you're going to feel really stressed and have a lot of thinking around it. And it's going to look as if Sophie is the source of your stress. That's the magic trick. So his way out was that whenever he felt the stress, he was to stop and ask himself, what am I demanding right now? She has to listen. Does she have to listen? Now, if you can ask that question of yourself with sincerity, don't try to convince yourself that it's not the case. Ask it with the intent that your mind can make a discovery, right? So challenge your masturbations. That's the first one. The second tip I have for you is learn to differentiate between felt sense or sensations and stories, between feelings and concepts. What very often happens is that our body sensations and our stories get tangled together, get glued together, and they kind of mutually reinforce each other in this loop. A bit like a gang of teenagers who are quite, nice by themselves individually, but when they get together and kind of tangle together, they all kind of amplify each other's behavior in this constant loop. So here's an interesting thing. Learn to describe your feelings. When I ask clients what they feel, they almost never tell me what they feel. They give me concepts. They may say, I feel panic, or I feel anxiety, or I feel hopeless. These aren't feelings. These are concepts. Anxiety isn't a feeling. Panic isn't a feeling. So what I will often do is I'll often have people put their palm, on the table. And I'll say to them, focus in on that area, close your eyes, and describe for me what you actually feel. And almost without exception, people will say, I feel my hand on the table. I'll say to them, no, you don't feel your hand on the table. My hand isn't a feeling. The table isn't a feeling. They're useful concepts to navigate what we call the world, but they're not feelings. So a feeling might be, if you put your hand on the table, a feeling might be pulsation, or vibration, or tingling, or hard, cold. These are words that refer to felt experience, body sensations. So if I ask people what they actually feel, what the word anxiety seems to refer to, it might be pulsation in terms of a beating heart. It might be, some wetness in terms of sweaty palms. It might be dryness. It might be trembling. right? So what they might be feeling is actually some pulsation and some warmth and some dryness. That's what they're actually feeling. When they glue the label anxiety onto that, it kind of disposes your thinking process to interpret these very neutral body sensations as if there is an inherent threat there. And now the mind or the thinking process starts racing for reasons and solutions and all sorts of stuff. This is a trap. So learn to describe your feelings. Learn to describe the actual activity. Use words that refer to direct sensory experience so that you teach yourself to differentiate between felt experience and stories. If you can do that, that's going to dramatically slow down the self-referential thinking, the anxiety type loops, the rumination. It's going to really quiet your system. Now, this has been very useful for so many of my clients. The third one is don't add a self to these phenomena that appear. So people, clients will very often say, I'm anxious, right? Or I must perform, or I'm broken, or I'm not enough, or I'm irritable. Now, there's a kind of illusion at play here because what happens is that it suddenly looks as if I am this experience, right? Like this is me. I'm fused with it. I'm identical with it. But the experience itself consists of some sensations, some images, some words. There's no self in that particular experience. There's not even a self really that initiates it or which it refers back to. This is illusory. Now, the reason why you're suffering is because it looks as if this particular experience is you somehow. Looks as if it's really personal. So start describing the experience in passive terms. For example, anxiety is here. So instead of I'm anxious, right? Anxiety is here. Or even better, pulsating is here. Dryness is here. Wetness is here. Pulsation is here. Or the future looks bleak is here. Like the thought that says the future looks bleak is here. Or I'm not enough is here. Right? So you're acknowledging the experience. Fear is in town, or pulsation is here, but you're not adding a self to it. This is just like weather patterns that kind of come and go. It's just consciousness taking the shape of particular cognitions and sensations and emotions. So learn to describe it in the passive tense. Here's also something else to do to radically slow down self-referential thinking and rumination, and that is don't add a because or a story to the experience. So let's say that you say, okay, pulsation is here, or I must perform is here, or I was abandoned is here. Right? Don't add, I was abandoned because my parents were shit and because, my siblings didn't care for me. Or don't add that, or don't add, let's say you go, okay, fear is here. Don't add because of the elevator or because I'm going flying on Friday or because of this or because of that. These are just stories that make it seem as if our internal experience is caused by what looks like outside events. This is an illusion, right? So train yourself to just describe experience, describe it in passive terms, And don't add the because. Don't add the story to it. If you can do this, you'll find that your thinking process, the self-referential thinking, dramatically slows down. Of course, one thing you could do as well, if you think you have a busy mind, is to look for the mind. If there really is such a thing as a busy mind, where is it? Can you find it or locate it anywhere? So this self, for example, that's broken or insufficient, well, where is it? See if you can locate the alleged I or subject that the experience seems to refer to. There's all these images and words and sensations, all this self-referential thinking. See if you can find an actual entity or an actual self that all these thoughts and emotions seem to refer to. Every time you do that and the search comes up empty, it does something quite magical. The stillness itself is the answer. Now notice this. If some thought appears and says it's me, or a feeling of being in here behind the eyes, or in here the feeler in the chest appears, just notice that that particular thought, it's me, or the particular sensation of being in here or in here, was not actually present during the previous experience. It's an afterthought. It's a clown that jumps on stage after the performance and takes a bow and takes the credit. But it's just thought number 24 in the stream. It wasn't even present. It didn't even exist during the experience, which it now takes credit for. So, anyways, I hope this was useful. I do Skype sessions with clients from all over the world. If you would like a session with me, if you would like to work with me, go to provocativehypnosis.com and get in touch. I also mentor people from all over this spinning planet. If you would like a mentor, if you would like to get better results with clients, if you like my particular way of approaching things, also go to provocativehypnosis.com. And if you'd like to train with me, if you'd like to learn the psychological illusion model, my next seminar is in Denmark, Copenhagen. It will be in English. It is January 18th until the 20th. You can go to provocativehypnosis.com again, or to changework.events.com and sign up. Hope to see you there. Till next time, enjoy.